Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. Welcome to the post-migraine and technical difficulties. Did the upgrade for Zoom, and that's how my camera looks. I don't even know how it's aiming or what's going on with that. So, can't figure it out. So, you're not going to see my face this week. This is freedomthroughastrology.com. I'm your astrologer. My name is Donald Patak. There's my contact information. Standard YouTube copyright applies. Keys to the reading, because I do read differently. I read astrology based on the visible sky. Constellation-based astrology, sometimes called true sidereal. In ancient times, astrologers were astronomers. Tropical astrology fixes the signs to seasons. I'm reading astrology as if it was done by an astronomer. So my readings are going to be a little bit different. Different part number two is I read 13 signs instead of 12 because between Scorpio and Sagittarius is another sign. It's the sign of the fucus. The symbol is a person holding a snake by the head and the tail. Snake in ancient times symbolized knowledge. So holding the snake, head and tail, controlling knowledge, using knowledge to heal yourself. So it's where you learn to heal yourself so you can heal others with similar wounds. I do read the natural size of the constellations. There are some people who use 30 degrees per sign. And in the visible sky, if you happen to go stargazing some night, you'll see Virgo in all her glory at almost just under 50 degrees. You'll see Aries, Cancer, Libra, Scorpio, Fucus. Individually, they're less than 25 degrees. If you put them all together, they're less than 125. I think they're less than 120. But the constellations, Mother Nature and all her wisdom made all the constellations different sizes. I respect that and I follow that. I use astrological midpoints. The IAU boundaries are arbitrarily drawn. If you zoom in on the boundary between Scorpio and a Fucus, you will see stars from Scorpio over the boundary into a Fucus. Athens Chimanti noted that, and he looked at the zodiac belt, said, "Where's last bright star of constellation A, first bright star of constellation B? What's the point in between them? Stars are where they belong." So I do use that. I think it's a little bit more accurate. Part two. I interpret using evolutionary astrology, which says the planets, the signs, even the houses have lessons for you to learn. So you are being given freedom of choice. You can choose the high road or you can choose the low road. Either which way, it's your choice, and live with the consequences. This is the weekly edition, so these are universal lessons. So do have some compassion on your fellow Earth travelers. Dates and times are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone, as I do live outside of Buffalo, New York. That's how I have my Southburg set up. I'm reading within 1 degree of being exact because that's when the energy is going to be most intense and you're most likely to notice it. Thank you for leaving the mouse on the table, Kit. My cat caught a mouse. Sorry about that. So within 1 degree of exact, you can feel it beyond that, but this will be when it's most intense. And the software I use is Capricorn by Prometheus. These are the weekly transits for the week of August 18th through 24th, 2025. The sun is currently in Leo, learning self-expression. The moon it starts in Taurus and ends in Virgo. When I show you the chart, I will explain that that's not as busy as it sounds. There's some quick transits that happen on Monday and Sunday that actually reduce this to really Gemini through Leo. We do have the full moon in Saturday in Leo at 1:29 in the morning, Buffalo time. So, yeah. Active planets. On the inner planets, the Sun and Venus are both aspecting Chiron. There's other transit as well. But Sun and Venus are the two active inner planets. They're both aspecting Chiron, which is the big new transits for the week. We have our long-standing power transits, the train of planets, outer planets of Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, aspecting each other. Some of these are leaving the 1 degree of exact, so that burden will be lightening up just a little bit. Excuse me. But these are going on. We do have two sign changes this week. Mercury is entering Leo and Venus is entering Cancer. That'll be over the weekend. So expect the weekend to be just a little bit more intense. And retrograde, which is reflection. We have Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron, all retrograde this week. Okay. And So here is our week. And like I said, starting with the moon, as you can see, there's not a whole lot going on. Anything above this line here is a hangover from last week or holdover from last week. So you can see a lot of the transits are from last week. We do have 3 new ones. As you can see, the sun there, Chiron there. I said Venus is active because of that sign change on Saturday, Mercury on Sunday. But it's like I did mention the moon, did want to talk about this a little bit. Monday morning, the moon starts in Taurus, and Monday afternoon, evening, it's in Gemini. And it really doesn't switch into Virgo until late Sunday night. So really, it starts the week in Taurus, but it's really Gemini through Leo-ish. Kind of depending on where you are, it's kind of interesting because this could start in Gemini is ruled by Mercury and ends the week in Mercury. Just a side thought. So as you can see, there's not a lot of new transits. A lot of the older transits and long transits are still hanging on. We do have a holdover from last week with Mercury and Mars, and we do have the Saturn, Neptune, or wait a minute, make sure I'm reading this. Yes, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction lightening up, which is nice. So let me clear this out, close that out. So we do have that Saturn-Neptune conjunction lightening up, or releasing. I do find this, my notes, here we go. That started way back in June, and it's leaving on August 23rd, so that's this weekend, so you'll feel a little lighter energy this weekend. Saturn works with maturity and developing skills. It's also a call to action in what? Conjuncting Neptune. Neptune and Pisces, don't just do something, sit there. It's you're learning to be present and in the moment. Neptune can also be thought, Neptune, especially Pisces, can be thought of being of your spirituality. So this, and ideally, is you maturing in your spirituality. And in retrograde, both of them retrograde, are you developing skill in this area? Are you learning to be present and in this moment? And are you able to, see things from a higher perspective and see situations from a higher perspective? Now, the shadow here, Saturn can fall into fear and dark moods, pessimism, cynicism, and Neptune in Pisces just falls for the hype. And this is just escapism and living in a fantasy land on steroids. So slipping into fear or other dark moods can lead to a desire to escape, and falling for the hype can have you lost in illusion and confusion. Also, you can feel isolated and drifting along empty and aimlessly. And so this will be lightening up this week as the conjunction will be ending. Because Saturn is retrograde, I do want to bring this up. Saturn is retrograde. When Saturn goes direct, it will be conjunct Neptune again later on. So you're getting a bit of a reprieve here. Neptune is sextiling Pluto, again, both retrograde. So let's remember, Neptune in Pisces is learning to be present and focused. Pluto in Capricorn is doing the work of transforming, and both these are retrograde. So again, this is inner work and reflective. How are you doing on this? What's the work looking like? And are you doing it internally? So how is your spirituality helping you to do deep inner work? What type of interest and excitement are you finding? Are you interested in it, or is this just you running through the motions, empty? Spiritual presence can help reclaiming lost energy, recovery of the soul. That's another lesson of Pluto. And understanding transformation from a higher perspective can help you in doing this work and getting it done. So yeah, So there we go there. Now, shadows here, Neptune in Pisces is falling for hype. Pluto in Capricorn is just falling into dark cynicism and nihilism, and deep feelings of emptiness. And so, literally, here you're falling for an illusion. If you're feeling defeated and that every life sucks and what have you, you're falling for an illusion, and denial of defeat is possible. Denial and defeat is possible only in a self-created fantasy. I mean, if you're thinking you're overwhelmed and things can't get any worse, you're falling for the hype. Stop, take a breath, look at the situation, and take a deep, hard look at your situation, and things can get better. This will be the start at the end of June, will be going on through October. So Saturn sextiling Uranus. Let me find that. So Saturn, again, we talked about spiritual, maturing in your spirituality, and Uranus is helping you to find peace and strength in being your authentic self. The sextile, waning sextile. So what are you leaving? Well, as you're maturing, you're seeing things from a higher perspective. You're leaving things behind. You're letting go of things that no longer matter, and you're helping to build, being present, and you're building your self-respect and your integrity. And this is helping you to become more of your authentic self. And as you're seeing situations from a higher perspective, oh, this is the lesson I'm supposed to learn, it helps you to respond to situations in a more authentic way. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Now, the shadow, you said Pisces is hype. Saturn is falling into fear. So you're falling into fear, falling into despair. You're falling for the hype. And this can result in, you being someone that you are not and feeding a false image. This can be the over-the-top eccentric or the sellout conformist. And so slipping into that fear and despair has you becoming someone that you are not, and you can be just looking for the easy way out in order to get over it. Uranus sextiling Neptune. Boy, is this going to be going on for a long time. And Uranus in Neptune, or Uranus in Taurus, is you finding being your authentic self and finding the peace and strength that comes from you being authentic. And excitement. This is creating an interest in you being, being present. That's one lesson of Neptune in Pisces. Don't just do something, be there. But also, it's your spirituality. So, how are you becoming more authentic in your spiritual practices? That's a lesson here. How are you being authentic and being in that present moment? Are you? So learning who you really are at heart can help deepen your spiritual connections and practices. And awareness of that individuality can help you, see, the peace that exists at higher levels. And I misspelled the word peace there. Well, now the shadow here, Uranus, is you not being who you are. So it can be the eccentric, sticking out like a sore thumb person, or that total sellout. And in Neptune, you're falling for the hype. So giving up your individuality to try to escape the emptiness of life can have you feeling isolated, alone, and lost, and also stuck in an illusion. Uranus, also we have Uranus trining Pluto. Yeah, welcome to a really long lesson. Yeah, anytime you see that double X, it's because of retrogrades and stuff. We get different exact moments. And if I try to plug all that information in, this pile here would be way incredibly long. So when we get to those exact moments, I will cue you in. But again, here we have this authenticity and individuality. You're being peace at that. How is that supporting your ability to do the inner work of transformation? Literally, this is you aligning. I'm going to say this is you aligning. You're doing the work of aligning your inner self and your outer world. You're transforming yourself into becoming more of who you are, doing the work and finding the peace in that. And remember, like I said, Pluto is doing that work of transformation. Right now, you're reflecting, am I really doing that work? And am I doing it where? In the inner world. So this is inner work. You have to change your inner world before you change your outer world. So finding that strength, yeah. Realizing the core self can help you do the work of recovering and reclaiming lost energy too. That's another note that I have here that because I noticed I misspelled another word. Yeah. So being authentic and being who you really are can help you recover because it takes a lot more energy to be somebody that you are not than to be who you really are. So when you where you authentically are, you're actually reclaiming energy. Now, the shadow here is being someone that you're not, that pointless rebel or selling out, losing your identity and falling into a cynical or nihilistic attitude. Power trips, shadow of Pluto, power trips, yeah, can become injurious to yourself and others and lead to feeling of loneliness and isolation. Yeah, I can imagine that eccentric rebel that's sticking out like a sour thumb having a power trip. Even that conformist can have a power trip. I used to be in the fundamentalist Christian, and everybody was so identical, and they're all those power trips. You can still be a sellout and get caught up in those empty power trips. So do be careful of that. And that's gonna be going on to October. And from last week, finally a new transit. Mercury sextiling Mars. So Mercury is learning self-care, learning how to take care of yourself and learn and also how to rest. Cancer very much a rest, regeneration, rejuvenation, self-care time. How are you learning and communicating your needs? And the sextile here is kind of creating a second wind. And Mars in Virgo having the courage to learn. So literally, as you're learning how to take care of yourself, you're learning new skills in self-care. I'm just going to say it that way. I think that works well. Yeah. And that can inform you of what skills you need to learn so you can put your strength and effort in towards learning them. Yeah. Self-care can support self-improvement like that. Now, the shadow here is falling, Cancer can be the worry ward. So, falling into that mental maze of worry can lead to fear, shadow of Mars, and an overcritically attitude, shadow of Virgo. That's towards life and yourself. Also, it can lead to become rigid and defensive and make anything seem impossible. The shadow of Mars is fear, and that can be angry outbursts, it can be cowardice. So it can be lashing out at people or trying to hide away. So if you're not communicating your needs and you're feeling overwhelmed, you can desire to try to hide away. And that will be ending on the 20th. And on from last week, where is that? We have the moon entering Taurus. So it's learning to find peace and fulfillment. Let go of what doesn't bring you peace and fulfillment. Take time to calm down and reconnect with your inner self and learn where you really are on your emotional journey. I like to call the moon is your emotional self. I like to refer to that being the soul. I think the soul is your emotional self. So you're learning to find inner calm and inner peace. What calms you down? What helps to keep you calm during the week, especially in stressful situations? You can find that, it's a good thing. The shadow here, we all know the bull can be stubborn and it can be lazy, and it can also be the proverbial bull in the china shop. So do be careful. So it can be doing nothing or destroying everything. Be careful of that. It can become difficult to express your needs in a meaningful way. So there we go. Finally, Monday. God. I guess these migraines are somehow tied to the Schumann resonance, something I just learned about because I mapped it on a calendar. And so I guess I should be paying attention to that now. If you do know something about Schumann resonance and you can share that with me, greatly appreciate it. Okay, the ADD distraction is over. On Monday, Sun in Leo is trining Chiron. So as you're learning to express yourself, the Sun, your core identity and a healthy ego. And you came here to learn how to have a healthy ego. In Leo, expression, standing up, being seen, expressing, sharing that with the world is supporting your ability to heal. Chiron is the healing journey. And it's able, and in Pisces, Chiron is learning to see wounds and understand them from a higher perspective and also heal them in a deeper way. So as you learn how to share and express yourself, you're actually supporting your healing journey. Yeah. And I just have this in my notes. I'll just read it. It's proverbial turn your scars into stars. So that I think that applies here because as you heal these wounds, it helps you to be able to give you the courage and the strength to stand up and be seen. So yeah, let's go with that. Now the shadow here is falling into that false ego. And this is the person that stands up and demands to be seen, or that coward that doesn't want to see and hide away. Either one of those two leads to wounding of the self and trying to numb the pain and trying to hide away. And you can define rather than overcoming the wounds, you can more be define yourself by your wounds. And this is the old pity party. And mind you, with pity parties, very few people come, and those who do don't bring presents. So yeah, and their presence isn't one that you want around you. Yeah, blinding yourselves. This you can be blinding yourself literally and shutting down the healing process, trying to numb the pain. Bad thing. Moon in Gemini, emotionally, you're ready to learn something new and open and update yourself to new information, new ideas. Learn to be present and pay attention to the world around you for new insight, information, and insights. And the shadow here is talking too much or not paying attention and shutting down. And this cuts off your ability to learn. So, really, it's an emotional interest in learning. And if you're not doing that and you shut yourself down, not learning anything, not going anywhere. Tuesday, take a breath. Remember to exhale. Repeat. Wednesday, the moon enters Cancer, and this is again, the moon, your emotional self, is in Cancer. The moon rules Cancer, so it's really kind of a homecoming. So this is emotional self-care. Take a break, practice a little self-care, rest. Know when to rest and how. Open up to others who can help you heal. So you can be helping others heal, they can be helping you. So please do that. Whining and being emotionally defensive can result in deeper emotional wounds and trying to hide away as well. Cancer's the crab. It's got that shell and those pincers. So it's, taking swipes at people and injuring yourself and others, or pulling away and trying to hide away and defend yourself from people who want to help you. Bad. Thursday, the moon enters Leo. It's a little later in the day. I think this was in the afternoon. So focus on sharing your emotional and how your emotions and how you're feeling. Learn to deal with feeling vulnerable when people are, being looking at you. Share your emotions. Everybody can learn to appreciate that. So learn to share how you're feeling. Learn to share it in an appropriate way. Is the shadow here? Can be playing that victim, oh, woe is me, everybody take care of me, or woe is me, leave me alone, let me hide away and wallow in my wounds. And either playing in the crowd or hiding away can be seen as being fake, childish, insincere. Ick. Let it go. Friday, again, now we have Venus in Gemini. Now, Venus is going to start this transit in Gemini and go into Cancer. So we'll touch on both a little bit. Venus in Gemini squaring Chiron retrograde in Pisces. So Venus in Gemini is you learning to communicate and learning, communicate and learning about others in your relationships. And as it transits into Cancer, that's learning to, self-care and caring for others in your relationships. Squares are challenges whose purpose is to strengthen you. Ideally, by learning about others and learning to care for your relationships, it strengthens you, and it strengthens what? The ability to heal. Understand the wounds from a higher perspective, maybe how they happened, and then help them to heal. And it can help to build relationships and take them to a deeper level, more nurturing, more caring level. And learning empathy can also, learning empathy and building harmony can help as well. And it's also learning to be present. I think that's another lesson here. And the shadow. Venus can be manipulative. So this is being that wordsmith, trying to control others, and then using, trying to, manipulate people into taking care of you and denying their own needs. So being that slick and manipulative can lead to deeper wounding and ruin relationships. They can also, and the square here is that crushing burden. So as you're trying to control and manipulate people, you're actually ruining relationships and inflicting wounds. And relationships can be either crushed or turned into something shallow and superficial. And just being lazy, Venus can also be lazy. Being lazy can also ruin relationships as well. Everyone, this is trying to find the easy way out, not having to do any work, and just paper over wounds. Not gonna happen. It's gonna ruin things. Saturday, 1:29 in the morning, we have the new moon, and this is the moon conjunct the sun in Leo. So my friends on the other side of the globe get to see this. Yay. Well, actually, if they looked at the sun, they'd probably fry their eyes. So no, don't look at the sun. But Leo, the sun, we call the sun your core identity, the healthy ego. The moon is your emotional self. And in Leo, find joy, find comfort, learn to stand up and express yourself, express who you are, how you're feeling. Focus on what brings you joy and comfort, and learn how to trust yourself and others. I think, standing up and willing to be seen involves learning trust, and involves being willing to be vulnerable. But by doing so, it's great because you're overcoming a fear, which is nice. Also, learning to express yourself and your creativities. People can, it's you learning how to do it in a way that people can appreciate it. I think that's very important. And a great lesson here is practicing presence, how you present yourself to the world and how to read the audience can also help you learn how to express yourself appropriately. There's a time to talk and a time to listen. It's that whole Ecclesiastes 3 thing, knowing what to say, when, and how, knowing how to present yourself and when. Very important. Now, the shadow here is that false ego. Look at me, everybody, or don't look at me. And we have that moodiness. And that's immaturity, that's emotional immaturity. Also egotistical immaturity. But so being immature can come across as being an egocentric child. Man, did I mess this one up. Should not type things up when I have a migraine. Dramatizing a false self-image can also come across as being fake, noisily, insincere, and childish. So yeah, the high road and this is for the lunar month of Leo. How are you learning to express yourself? And the shadow is becoming insincere and childish. And on top of that, later in the day, we will have the sun squaring Uranus. So with sun in Leo, your authentic self, your core ego, your core identity, learning to share that. And how is that square? Strengthening your being at peace with who you are and your authentic self. Working through this challenge of expressing yourself can strengthen your individuality and come across as a more authentic person. Can also help you to realize more about who you really are and make peace with it. I think it's a very powerful lesson. And the shadow here, that square becomes a crushing burden, overwhelming burden, stumbling block. So playing up the false self can crush your authentic identity and lead you becoming disconnected from who you really are. And this can be you being that ego, that over the top rebel or that sellout. So you're becoming someone who you're not. And that can feel like a crushing burden and leading to the loss of your identity. So this Leo month, you can be being somebody that you really aren't and making a mess of it. And on Saturday, we have Venus ending Cancer. So do take time to nurture and heal your relationships. Learn how to spend time with others and doing things that everyone finds enjoyable. So that's relationship part of it. Also, it's nurturing your artistic abilities because let's remember Venus does govern the arts, whether it's music or painting, drawing, sculpture, whatever type of art you do. So do remember that. And also Venus is rest, recreation, having fun. How is having fun nurturing and restorative? I don't have that in my notes, but that's just like, hey, bring this up because you need to. Whoops, no, I didn't want to do that. Now the shadow here, being slick, manipulative, and fake, can lead to becoming defensive and relationships becoming shallow and superficial. Hiding from others can be a greater distance, make you unreachable. Again, that ruins relationships. And also, going for the easy way out with your creativity, plagiarism. I hate to say it, I'm going to throw this out here, but using AI is a shortcut. You're not learning to be creative. It doesn't help you at all. And I'm a school teacher for 23 years now. Yeah, makes you unreachable and untenable. Looking for that shortcut, that easy way out, ruins relationships, ruins your reputation, and it's not really the easy way out at all. Mercury enters Leo on Sunday. So learn to communicate your knowledge to others and learning how you communicate. Is it writing? Is it speaking? Learn how to share that knowledge that you know. But this is all standing up and being seen. And this could be in a teaching capacity as well. So learn how you communicate best and do this in the public sphere so you can be seen and appreciated by others. The shadow here, Mercury can be that know-it-all or person who doesn't want to share what they know at all. And that's engaging in empty and mindless chatter, talking about a topic you know nothing about, can have you coming across as fake. So, putting up that false self, refusing to share what you know can be seen as being childish and immature. And be careful of copying others as well. Plagiarism coming up again here in its various forms. Being seen as fake can come across as being insincere. And man, do I gotta not write these things when I have a migraine. I double type things so many times it's horrible. But yeah, being coming across as fake on this public stage is just going to ruin your reputation. And finally, this is very late in the day. The moon enters Leo, or not Leo, I'm sorry, Virgo. So emotionally, you recognize that it's time to do some self-improvement. So see what's no longer useful to you and replacing it with newer skills. It's time to step and be responsible and be practical. Take practical action on helping yourself to become better and more skilled at something. The shadow here, the moon falls into worry, and it worries about everything, can lead to feelings of being overwhelmed, self-critical of yourself or others, and perfectionism can ruin good intentions. So there we go. Do want to share this a little bit. The ISAA, International Sidereal Astrology Association, is having a free conference on September 27th from 10 to 3. It's free. It's a free conference. You just register and they'll send you the Zoom link. Got some great discussions. 3 biggies. We have Athens Shementi. Athens, actually, I'm a student of Athens. That's one of the places I learned 13 sign astrology. Gary O'Toole does Vedic astrology, which is really cool. Danny Inman, she specializes in Venus. oh gosh, I know her first name is Abby. It's Abigail. I can't remember her last name, but she does Sumerian or Babylonian astrology. Her name's not on here, it should be, but you're going to get a wide variety of astrological three different schools at least of astrologers here sharing their knowledge and doing it from the sidereal perspective, which is the true sky astrology. So there's going to be presentations, panel discussions with Q&As, some great prizes as well. So do go to the website. I don't siderealinternational.org. Register. Yeah, great thing there. Do follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Um, I do dailies on Facebook and Instagram. And these three organizations are making billions of dollars from your data and not really sharing a whole lot. Digital Soul Space, hosted by Mighty Networks. It's run by four moderators, or overseen by four moderators. Um, and I call it the safe spiritual space of the internet. I do astrology on there. However, if you like crystals or you're curious about tarot or oracle decks, or a wide variety of spiritual practices, whatever, divination. It's a great place to go to ask questions and get answers. It's a troll-free zone. You control your data, who gets it, if they get it, etc. There we go. I am an ISIA member. Well, I'm feeling really heady, so I'm not going to jump to my website. But I do readings, quick six. If you want to see how your chart changes, I give you a copy of your chart and I read 6 key points, which are a core part of my birth chart reading. I do the birth chart reading, your birth or natal reading, which is your birth contract, who you came here to become. Off that same chart, I can also do a karmic or a past life reading, which is done off the nodes of the moon. Awesome thing there. So if it's like a past life that you came here to heal in this life, so I can tell you what the archetype is, how it's manifesting in this lifetime, then how you heal it. If you don't believe in past lives, this is a special lesson. And I do read horoscopes 1 year, which is any 12 months in a row, any 3 months in a row, or any 1 month. And that can be first day of the month to the end of the month, or new moon to the new moon. My preference is new moon to new moon because that's a natural cycle, but it's your choice. And I do have packages that combine these and have a 10% discount built in. So do like, follow, share. If you do go to my website, you get a pop-up and just give me an email address and you get that get the free email, get the free weekly newsletter that I sent out. If you don't, I do have a thing, subscribe. You click on that, it takes you to a page to do that. I do have a blog where I post daily deep dives when I'm up to it. And that's where you do scheduling, etc. So thank you very much. Thank you for putting up with this. I apologize. Like I said, I'm getting over a brutal migraine that put me down for 2 days in a row. Thank you very much. Have yourself the best week possible. Remember, in the visible sky, your life changes.